Welcome, I'm Scott with Small Worlds Big Adventures, building community through gaming. Today we have another Gamekeeper tip for you that you can use at your table. We'll be talking about player engagement, tips on bringing their characters to life through RP and including their backgrounds in the adventures that you're currently running. There are a few ways that we can go about this. One of them is to ask about their current goals, specifically in the current adventure that you're running, rather than the entire campaign arc. Why is the character on this adventure? What are they doing? What are they planning to do in the near future? It's also important to know what their long-term goals for their characters can be. You should discuss this with them both in the game and outside of the game. You can take a moment to set aside and ask them in character what their character is planning after they finish this current adventure arc. In this way, it helps to tie the characters' goals together, both long-term and short-term. It's a way to keep the party more cohesive and more focused on what they're doing and what they're planning to do. Another good way to bring a character's backstory into play is to RP a memory with them. Take something that you like or are interested in out of their backstory, or especially something that they have brought up before, and in a moment of downtime for the party, RP that moment with them. You can do this one-on-one, or you can include other players to either RP characters that are included in that memory, or if they're included in that memory, all the better. It's a really good idea to do this when those memories especially tie into the current story arc. If it's something that the player has perhaps forgotten about, or the other players don't even know about, but can tie in, especially in a very important way, to the current arc, this can be a very good way to flesh out the story in ways that could be surprising both to you and to your player. Another way to bring forward player engagement is to RP quiet moments in your adventure arc. When they stop for the night at an inn or at a camp, it's a good time to just spend a few minutes RPing some of what they're doing, how their character is feeling, how their character is feeling about other characters. When you're RPing a quiet moment, it's also helpful to bring in one or maybe two extra characters to RP this with them. This can help add to group cohesiveness and help create better bonds between the characters themselves, if not between the players. Deciding when to do these things is also a very important step in an individual adventure. It's real easy to get caught up in the minutia of what the plot and what the encounters actually need in order to progress from step to step. We need to remember that the players and the characters add to that at every step of the way. So you want to flesh out your story with stuff that the players and characters can bring to that. A good time to use this is if an adventure is focused on one or two of your characters, but not a couple of the others. You can spend a little bit of time RPing with the others so that they still feel included and important in the adventure, even though the adventure may not be about those characters specifically. Again, the end of the day tends to be a good time to sit down and RP these things. Again, the end of an adventuring day tends to be a good time to sit down and RP these things, as that tends to be a really good downtime and a sort of a weird transition between an adventuring day to the next adventuring day. Especially if there isn't an encounter set up, this can be a really good way to keep the flow going into that next day. A long journey is another good time to bring these up to just kind of spread out between any types of encounters or special RP that is going to happen as part of the adventure. You can use them as a way to flesh out the world that you have created by including them in your character's backstories or your character's current story. One thing to remember is that world building, if it's hidden, is really only important to you. If you've got exciting things about your world that you want to explore, you need to bring them up and show them to your players, and getting them involved in those things is the best way to do that.
As a DM, what were moments you saw your players bring their characters to life?
A recent example of a player bringing their character to life would be the adventure was kind of designed around meeting their family and solving a murder mystery for their family. I had a bit of background on the family that I fleshed out a little bit behind the scenes, both working with the player and on my own, and then a lot of stuff was created in the RP moments between that player's character and their family as they encountered each other and as the other players encountered that family.
Have you ever created a space where the characters got to explore themselves?
One of the scenes that we had in one of our recent adventures was a funeral for NPCs that had been lost in that adventure, but then also there had been a cataclysm that had lost a lot of lives earlier in the campaign, and it was kind of set up as a funeral both for them and a memorial for the ones that had been lost. And that was another point where I was able to bring in the players and specifically their characters to see how they got to react and add to this funeral and this memorial for those that had been lost. There was a speech given, there was an atonement for their god to essentially bless those that had fallen and those that were left alive, and let there be a role for that, and let there be some engagement with that seemed like it had played out real well for the players, certainly. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear about a time that either you engaged your players in a moment or that you as a player got engaged in one of your games. So comment down below, like and subscribe, and please hit that notification bell.